Alright, Travis Van Goodsill. I didn't want to do this video, but I got a new variation of it for you to help instruct you now that we understand and know, because you've been paying attention to all my videos, right? This isn't the first one you're coming to, so you're not going to be offended because you don't know the other information behind this. That the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but is the Church of Lucifer, literally, with the inverted pentagram as the symbol, and Nelson pulling out an idol during conference. Do you understand this? Can I go on? Or are Mormons going to get abusive to me and start using ad hominem? As one other Mormon, of which this is a reply to give a different take on it. It's a guy who came up with, I have to say it correctly because somebody else has something similar, but it's not the same. He came up with a geography speculation, because it's not a theory, for the location of the Book of Mormon lands. There's only one place, period, and this is how you figure it out. But he insisted that I read his book, pay for it, and then he said he'll pay me back if I buy it. Then he said he did a video, and I just ignore him and say he's wrong, and I did the plagiarism video. And so, he commented again. I just delete him. Gone. I see it in the title section in the email. Gone. I don't even bother to read him anymore. So, he's proven to be ignorant, and the reason why I did the plagiarism video was that he said, I know you are, but what am I? That type of a response. It's just, he's acting like a baby. That's what ad hominem people are. They're babies. They emotionally respond when they don't get their way. And his way is for me to accept his theory, as he calls it, which is just speculation, about the Book of Mormon being a legitimate history of the American Indians by claiming the maps. And that's what we got into this for, as I said, oh, look what I found. I found maps at the time the Book of Mormon was written, of Saudi Arabia. Gee. And so then he was being a baby. And so another thing, and I'm losing it, I'm delaying, trying to remember it, so let me take notes, scribble notes here. Oh, yeah, there it is. So I wasted a post-it note, but I bought more. We have the Book of Mormon plates. There have been some people that have come to me and said they get so frustrated with Mormon apologists coming up with all sorts of tangent discussions about how the Book of Mormon could be true and speculations and all this nonsense, and they get sick and tired of being name-called when people point out the plagiarism, and they say, well, we just don't have the plates. They're gone. They don't exist. And yet the church apologists are trying to make up all sorts of excuses and speculations and claims to theories that can't be tested. If you can't test it, it's not a theory. You have to discard it. End of story. That's what I was taught as part of my dual bachelor's. That was one of the bachelors. It was philosophy of science. And so if you can't test a theory, you have to dismiss it. So the missing link of humans to apes. Missing link automatically disqualifies it. Once you find the link, then you can resurrect it according to the evidence. But until then, you have to dismiss it. Chimpanzees are on a different family group than humans. Even my DNA, they don't tie me to the chimpanzee family. If we're supposedly a DNA match, why doesn't my DNA point it out to an original chimpanzee way back in the beginning? It's because it doesn't exist. It's not a legitimate theory. It's false. But so is many of the biblical claims that Catholic Christians use to try to justify pushing that the Bible stories are actual histories, despite the many millennia of distance from the older stories to the latest ones. And they keep pushing that it's exact as it is and it's accurate as history as written in the English translation, not the oldest version of the text that we have. And it's just frustrating dealing with people who think so ignorantly. But anyway, moving on. We have the plates because we've identified the sources from which the Book of Mormon came from. Because that's what the plates are. It's the source. And so that's what people are looking for, is the Book of Mormon plates. We need the source. And sure enough, we've got it. Because we've identified the books that have been plagiarized in the Book of Mormon. Those various books are the plates. It's that simple. It's not complicated. So that's it. That's a different take on it. And so once you've identified the source origin of the plates, you now can say, no, these aren't a history. Did I just lose lighting? Huh. I saw a dimming of the lights, and I'm like, what's going on? And apparently it must be just you. Or you something. But anyway. So yeah, it's not a legitimate history of the American Indians. There was no travel from Jerusalem to America by the people claimed in the Book of Mormon, because the people in the Book of Mormon are fictitious characters created for some other purpose. And I did the video on Assumptive Leaps, but I also did another video talking about it too. But Assumptive Leaps I thought was very clever with my thumbnail picture that I put on there. You guys pay attention to that? Notice very carefully what we assume, and then pay attention to the pictures. So anyway, tomorrow is the day when we get last week's unemployment numbers, so pay close attention. Utah, the total amount, not the coronavirus total. So pay attention, because the news typically only tells you the coronavirus totals. They do not give you the full amount of those unemployed. If you do find a source here in Utah that tells you the full total, not just the coronavirus total, stick with them as a reliable news source to trust. But like I said, I've not found one yet. So pay attention to that. We're at 4.58% total, 3.32% coronavirus total. Notice it's a big difference in percentage. And that's the reason why they don't want to tell you. That's weird. Huh. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I'm taking care of some business. And be right with ya. And so the United States also, if you go to the United States, they say 36 million are unemployed. Well, that's the coronavirus total. That is not the full total of 42 million who are unemployed. Big difference, isn't it? So it's actually 12.8% with the 42 million. So pay attention tomorrow and add an additional 5.8 million to the coronavirus total that they'll end up giving you. So pay attention. Don't be fooled by the lower numbers because they're doing exactly what Trump's doing and the governors are doing. So again, if you find a channel that gives you the full total numbers, you can trust them for a reliable news source. Alright, so I think I've got it under control. And we're done here. Alrighty, so I'm ready to go to bed now. 70 degrees at bedtime. Good, because it means it'll get a little bit colder, so I can put the blanket over me and not be too hot, and then wake up early.